Hi guys, morning. Welcome to Stoak'd Studio. So today's tutorial is to dive into masks, basically layer masks, clipping masks, but deeper. Okay, we're gonna really get into undestructive work or layers. So if you're not sure on the premise of what those two meanings are, a destructive layer would be something like this, where I don't separate my layers for certain things, so when I come back to do something, I can't change it later. So if I'm doing work for a client, and let's say, for example, we'll take Mario and Luigi here, and just for fun, I drop in and make the color line art red, yeah, and then carry on doing my work, but then put some colors in here, and it becomes, and then go away and come back. I can't change that, so it needs to be on a separate layer. But obviously, because this is the way I've done it, it's a lot different. So destructive layer and undestructive layers. But we're going to dive straight into what we're going to talk about, which is masks, because a lot of people kind of get screwed up with that. I'll touch on clipping masks a little bit, but this is kind of a way to color, and it's going to seem very long-winded, but I'm going to make it as quick as possible for you. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to have good old Mario and Luigi, and we're going to separate each piece, so like a hat, face, eyes, hands, yeah, so that each piece is separated, okay, like a jigsaw and so forth. So what you do is selection tool, and sorry, it needs to be on the right layer. And you would select. Now if you've done good line work like this obviously is right now, because it's just a clip art piece to make life easier, you'll be able to select the pieces that you want without it doing that. Okay, so I've just selected the whole background there, but all I want is the hands. So what I'm going to do here is I've got my selection, which is just hands, and I've got an extra layer. I'm going to click on the layer, and then I'm going to press mask. So now I have a separate layer for just the hands. Okay, so that section's done. Okay, so clip out of selection tool, add a new layer. We'll do the hat next. Selection. Now this is where it gets, you have to go back to the layer. Selection tool, click the hat. We'll leave the emblem out. Go back to there. Mask. Now I've just selected that. And then this is the way you need to start kind of grouping stuff and making sure you label it. So obviously here, could rename this to hat. Hands. Okay, then I'm going to go back to the layer, selection tool, we'll do the face. Add a new layer, mask. Now the reason I'm doing this is that it can be a long-winded process, but it just allows you to color so much faster. And once you get used to doing this, you can. Don't get me wrong, you can go and use this line out as a reference layer and then just color drop, yeah? And then you can clip mask to do shades, then highlights, and so on. But if you want something to like doing something properly or going through it, then this is going to be a very good way of doing it. So this is kind of diving deep into mask layers. Okay, so let's just take these three for instance. Okay, so this is the face. Okay, and what I can do is group these basically. Like so, yeah. I can go with this. I didn't mean to do that. So these are kind of grouped together now. Yeah, except for the hands, so we'll put that in there as well. Just been annoying today. There we go. Okay, delete. Alright, so it's got a new group. Okay, so you could like put this as mask layers or whatever you want to put, and in here you've got your groups. From here I would actually, you know, in all honesty, I would have these kind of separate as their own, because we're going to do clipping masks. So we're going to go to the hat first. Okay, well, he had like this red hat, didn't he? So right now I've just got a soft airbrush. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm literally painting on his shoes everywhere. Nothing's happening, but you can see that it's making a mess of the mask. Okay, so just remember that. So the great thing about this is that I'm able to just paint the hat, yeah, which is what I wanted. Nothing else gets painted, but obviously you can tell there that something is happening. Now let's say I want to do some shading to the hat. Okay, so I can go in here. Now you got a choice. You can just carry on in this layer, yeah, and shade away. Completely up to you, yeah. So this would be a bit darker. The rim. I mean, it's, you know, you can do it this way. Yeah. It's up to you. So you can do it on that one layer if you're just trying to keep it on the one. Yeah, you can see that looks really messy. There's no form to it, but that's how the layer mask work. The other option is you can add a new layer, and what you would do now is with this layer on top, I can pretty much draw wherever I want now. Okay, so the next thing to do, let's say I'm going to do some highlights, but I don't want to use the same layer. I would set it as a clipping mask to this, to the parent, yeah? So now, I still can't obviously go outside, yeah? But it's clipped to this particular one, okay? So that is basically drawing on top of that layer. So let's go to the face. Make sure we get like a decent color here. That'll do. Did I get that right? Yeah. Nope, I did not. That'll do. Okay. So we're on the face. Okay. And now when I color, see that? Nowhere near the hat. I can just colour in the face like so. And then if I want to do some shading, like I'm doing this on the same layer as I said, okay, so you have to make sure you got this kind of how you want it before you do anything. Otherwise you could make some, make mistakes. So your choices really are to like either have these in separate groups, which is probably what I would do, or group them, put them in one group so they're out the way, yeah? But layer masks, in my eyes, when it comes to doing colour work, is really kind of perfect for, non-destructive work. Because now, let's say for instance, someone says, look, Mario's face, look, no, alright, Mario's face needs to be, a bit darker, okay? So because I've got this on a separate layer and it's masked, I don't have a problem. Now if this was all on one layer, I'd have to really get in there so I didn't go over the lines, okay? So now I could just go in with my brush pen and go straight over the top of it. Wow, he's got a serious tan now. Yeah, change his face however I wanted. Mexican, I don't know. But you can change everything to what it needs to be, okay, by just going in and using that layer. And this is what we call non-destructive layers, or this is what I found out quite a lot now. And the great thing about it is, that the whole point is you can color drop because that's the only layer that's affected. So it can't be any more clearer. Like when you're doing kind of work for yourself and just having fun, some of these all fundamentals, it takes longer to do this because obviously you have to separate everything. So then now let's say for instance, so go back to the line layer, and then let's say we need to do shoes. Yeah. So now we've got shoes. Add a new layer. Click on it. Mask it. Now I've just selected the shoes. I mean, I'm pretty sure shoes are just black, but if you want to put highlights or anything on them, now you can basically. There we go. And we can go back here and do a lighter grey. Let shine on here. A bit of separation. I mean, I'm just using the airbrush right now. I haven't touched any other brush so far. It's just using the airbrush to do certain things. But now, so that's his shoes right there. So now I can, just having that layer selected, I can go in and change whatever I want. Let's put another, let's get some highlights, I guess. Let's go thin on the airbrush. Shoe shine. And it's, that makes life easier for you to add these parts on. Like I said, if you need to, do an extra layer to do separate stuff like highlights, extra shadows, whatever you want to try and do, then you can just set that to a clipping mask and it will clip, and you can clip as much as you want. The downside to this particular way, especially in Procreate, is obviously layers. okay? Layers upon layers, that's your kind of big problem. But if it's all separated and you know where everything is, you've named it all, it's very easy to go in here and do what you need to do. And you can actually name the group as well, so you can rename this to colors. Yeah, so you know, that's kind of my basis. Alright guys, so hopefully this has kind of helped you out. Like I said, it's don't get me wrong, it's a long-winded process, but just you'll get quicker at it, and it'll just make life easier in changing little details or changing certain things, you know, to whatever it needs to be. It's just some of these tutorials I'm watching myself are all kind of Photoshop related that go really in depth, and I'm trying to flip it to Procreate to make it a lot easier for you guys and myself to understand. But it can be a bit of a challenge because, you know, there are kind of easier ways, I guess, to color than this process of groups on groups. But you know, the last tutorial I did, all it did was set the line work to reference, color dropped everything on another layer, and then proceeded to, you know, do the shading and highlights. But the flip side is, some of it, you know, when you're shading, unless you said it's clipping mask, so you're doing clipping mask on top of each other, you can kind of damage your layer structure in some way, because I've done it before. I've done layer on layer on layer, and when I've come back to go do something else, it's just not working for some reason. Like, it's come out a different way. So either the color's different, or you know, for some unknown reason, the layer is just not working for me, should I say, in the way that I would want it to work. But this right now, like, it's kind of a perfect way to work, because in all honesty, like, I can just scribble away and not worry about going on the face, the shoes, you know, over the top of Luigi. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can see in this layer, turn all this off, and the mask, you can see that I've just gone mental. But with the layer mask on, it's all within one spot. Yeah? So obviously don't go that mental, but it gives you a general idea of what I'm talking about. And then, you know, you can layer clip everything. You can make this your own group, you know. It's one of those things. You just need to select the layers. Then at the top here on the right, you can just say group. Rename the group to hat. And now you have your own layer for hat. Do the same for the face, hands, up to you. Yeah, and then you can change this one to boots. Yeah. So rename boots. That will take everything, because everything's in that group. So just best thing from there would be, this one would be colors. Then you would select these ones here, group that, to what did I want to do? I've just renamed the same group, haven't I? Whoopsie, my bad. You get the general idea. What I'm trying to say to you is try and organize stuff. So once you do like a selection, so let's just do it on, let's get rid of all of this, shall we? So I've got my layer. I select his trousers, belt buckle, yeah. Add a new layer, mask. That's his trousers. It's good by me. So all I would do now, because I haven't got anything else on top, that's why. More than 2 layers, Kev, more than 2 layers, then it will work. Group, rename, trousers, or shall I go American, shall I? Pants. Alright, so there you go. Pants is on its own separate layer now, so you can do whatever you want. Then I can make another selection and then choose face, add a new group, because groups would be in essence folders on Photoshop, and then your other would be subfolders. Yep. So this would be perfect. This would be a great way to kind of do everything you need to do. What did you have? Blue pants? Don't want to waffle too much because I've got a habit of doing that right now. It's waffling on. Make sure I'm on the right layer. Yeah, it's good. And undo selection. Just to prove that you can do it. It's good. Turn this up. There you go. Was it blue? I don't know. Looks a bit weird now. Do you have blue top? Red? Yeah, my bad. Yeah, it's red. But there you go, he's got blue overalls. So now, if I want to play with the pants, I can play with the pants. Come into that layer, then I know what I need to do. I could set this to a clipping mask. Do some shading, I guess. Can you bring that down? Shoulder. There you go. You could also set your clipping mask to multiply, like, and just turn down your opacity. That's another way of doing some shading. Or you can just do it on the layer that you just did it on, but obviously the problem I would see is, honestly, is if you need to change anything later on, like the color, like let's say I got this wrong, okay, and I've done my shading and I need to change it to red, then you're good. But if I haven't done this on a kind of mask layer or separated layer, I can't do that. Yeah, let's delete that. You know, so it's on one layer. All I've done is I flipped it over and it's changed everything, including the shading, which is perfect. But if I do no mask layer and I've done this on top and the shading on top, then it won't change it, and I'd have a huge problem because I would have to kind of redo the shading, highlights, and so on. Okay, so you know, baby pink in there, just for some fun. So like this now, if I change this to blue, everything else changes with it. Yeah. So up to you people. It depends however you want to do it, but this kind of is a real look into in-depth kind of masking. So hopefully it helped. I'm going to do another tutorial like doing some more colouring and shading, but hopefully it was quite helpful. I know it helped me and it made my life a lot easier when colouring and shading, because it stays within the lines and I don't have to worry about that. I can go mental. If I need to change colour I can, and it only changes what's been selected without always using this selection tool. So, and you can separate it into, you know, proper layers and groups and so on. But like I said, the downfall is it's kind of a longer process, but it's worth it in the end if you need to change stuff. Alright guys, thanks for watching and I'll see you on the next one.